Hey everyone, this is Cindy. This is an open door. It is, according to the numbers I see on this computer, and my interpretation of those numbers, it is April 18th, 2025, 10 a.m. Eastern. This is the hour we have set aside for something we call reality check, where we come together with the intention to have a direct experience through the teachings of Helen Hamilton. We tend to spend the first couple minutes with a clip of Helen's, and I found I think it's 6 minute clip that was just posted 4 days ago, and then we'll have whatever um, conversation or pointing that we choose to have through that clip, and then we'll pull up reality check. This is our second time through the book. We have a reader, and we will simply be with the words in the book until any one of us wants to stop and do. So that's what we do. And unless there's anything anyone wants to say, we can begin with the clip.
And this is our last question from Nick. Why is the camera angle of experience from my head when I'm everything and there's no separation? There's no separation between me and anything I see, or me and you recording a video in the past or in distant solar systems. It's all one, the one self. But still, I don't have sensations of all of that. Just this body and some interesting psychic stuff and intuition, all from one camera angle. I'm not disagreeing with you in the slightest, but I feel that this aspect of the human experience hasn't yet been addressed in your videos. I hope you can help. Much love, Nick.
I am pretty much always addressing it, but perhaps it might not be as obvious. Let me put it really in your analogy. Hopefully it might be clearer. So an experience is always going to be localized. Sensory experience, where your eyes and ears are hearing. The camera, as you put it, the camera is only going to be able to record from the place where the camera is. The lens is where the lens is, and you're only going to be able to see from there when you look through the camera. And the camera here being the body and mind in the analogy, the body and mind and the senses are in one location. So wherever this body is, that's where these set of senses will perceive. And I'll look out at the world through this body-mind vehicle. And it'll always seem to be from one place only. But the one who's looking through the body and mind is everywhere. And you cannot perceive that one with the senses. So we have to begin to search through direct inquiry. Who am I really then? What am I really? Where am I? And discovering our real nature is formless and is not in any particular place. Something that's formless, and we can use the analogy of the space in the room or even the air. You cannot slice it into bits. It's not in one place. You can't say it's over here or over there. It's just everywhere and cannot be broken or divided. So that omnipresent self that we really are is looking from everywhere at all times. To fit this into your analogy then, there are an infinite number of cameras. Everywhere there could be a camera in the entire universe, there is one. And the same one self is looking through all of them at the same time. The view through any particular camera is always going to look localized. You're only ever going to be able to see one direction. You could turn the camera this way, or even right behind you, but you still could not see all of it through the camera. So any human being, any human body is only going to perceive one tiny corner of time and space. There is no way around that. An experience in a human body is always going to be local, in one place. There is no way to experience omnipresence through experience. It has to only be through the knowing and the direct perception without using my senses or mind, which are happening in one place, my senses and mind and my body. But I can recognize, I can directly experience who I really am. I know myself to be everywhere and looking through every camera angle. So the confusion comes because we're trying to get the apparatus, the camera, to see everything everywhere, and it just is not capable. But I can know that I am right where you are asking this question, and that this question is coming from me. You can know that this answer is coming from you. And in that, you see your own omnipresence. Direct self-inquiry will show you that you're perceiving yourself first beyond the form directly, and then you're having a localized experience on top of that, so to speak, in front of that, while you're looking through this body and mind, or that body and mind. Before the omnipresent self recognizes itself, it is sure that it is only looking through that one body and mind. But as it comes to see who it clearly is, then it recognizes it's looking from everywhere, all the time, and could never be absent from anywhere. The effect that that has then is the letting go of trying to experience oneness, and the knowing that is not an experience grows louder and louder, and it begins to override the experience of separation, or it completely overrides the experience of separation if we let it. My senses in this body here only show me a small fraction of the world, and could never really, my body and mind, my physical form, etc., could never experience the oneness. I could have a psychic knowing about somebody else, but that's still happening in one place only, about another place. It's not anything to do with the wholeness. So as you get this, you relax. The form is limited by its very nature. It doesn't mean it's wrong, but we stop trying to get it to perceive oneness. Senses and mind and body help you in the physical world. The direct perception of reality, who you really are, will show you that you're everywhere. And in everyone you meet, you know it's yourself. You know that what they're experiencing, you're experiencing. And you don't necessarily need to have all those experiences happen here, because you're experiencing it in other bodies. So hope that helps to make it clear. It's a very common question. It was very, very confusing for me at first. So hope that is clear.
Anybody want to perhaps either repeat what they heard using their own words to let it sink in, or to speak to their resistance of what they just heard, or their acceptance of what they just heard, or the yeah buts, or the yays? Please, Diane.
Yeah, I really found that resonated with me. Because it feels like when I'm doing the diet or in meditation, that feeling of deepening and all that, that feels like that's, what I can't even remember the word she was using, the oneness or whatever, but it's not. It's just a feeling, an experience. It's now that and that's okay. It's a knowing that it's that I am, that is the, yeah, and I can know that and trust that because that's the truth. So anyway, I really appreciated that. Thank you.
Please, Patricia.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to see you, my family on video. Um, for me, the experience is coming back to the moment. When I'm in the moment, I'm just following my breath, looking through my eyes, and that's all there is. And there's stillness, there's space. That's it. And I think that's what she's referring to. I'm not sure, but I think that's what she's referring to. Thank you.
Izzy, did you raise your hand? Your internet is not perfect, so it
Oh,
should be good
really?
enough, but I got a blur, so I wasn't
Oh,
sure.
okay. That was a wonderful sharing on her part. I think I certainly struggle with that. How do I feel the universe um, through a particular
Izzy,
and
you might want
always,
to turn your video off. We might be able to hear you better. You're
oh,
breaking up.
okay. Tell me if this is better.
Can hear
Anyway,
you now.
okay. So what I said is I struggled with that question many times. How do I feel that the universe is in me, that I am the universe just temporarily coming into form as a body. And I love what she said, the view through any particular camera is going to be localized in order to realize that we need to have a direct experience, which is leading me into something that I got to yesterday. I was listening to a teacher that's new to me. And this really gobsmacked me. Um, he was saying that, so we have these thoughts and we've learned to identify with these thoughts because we don't want these thoughts kind of hanging out in the air, to know that there's a conversationalist on the other side of those thoughts. And so we make up this entity, this made up self, are not hanging out in the air, and that's what creates this made up self. And I've really been thinking about that because that feels so true to me. And so what this teacher is saying is to ask who is the mind talking to, or whatever iteration of that, to whom are these thoughts addressing, or what are these thoughts talking to, which to me it addresses two of the questions, which is is about believing thoughts, which for years I've known not to believe thoughts, but then there's certain body of thoughts I still believe. And then it addresses who that person. So if we are asking who is the mind talking to, we're addressing both of those questions. Anyway, I wanted to share that, seemed to come into what she said in a different way. And I wanted to share it because I'm excited about this new way of thinking and saying, whenever somebody comes up with a new way of saying something, I get kind of excited because, when I repeat something too much to myself, it loses meaning. So anyway, maybe that's my sneaky way of sharing what I'm feeling excited about, but it does seem to kind of tie in together. Anyway, thanks.
A, it doesn't feel very sneaky because you're doing it. And B, um, at least from this point of view, there's tremendous value in speaking out loud those things that we're learning and sharing them with so-called others. There's something very beautiful about it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, sweetie. And I said that with humor. It's, the human experience is a pretty humorous thing in my mind. Thanks. Love y'all.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. I was just trying to remember. Somebody asked the guides about that this weekend. And I'll upload the audios, but they literally said they asked for where humor sits in all of this work. And the response, my interpretation or my memory of the response was when you basically recognize how ridiculous it is to continually feed this belief in separation, humor can get, it becomes humorous, and using that to soften that attachment to the fear-based dualistic world gets very useful.
I laugh a lot, and about what I'm thinking and saying, and what other people are thinking. Really pissed off, but all these ridiculous ways that we come up with denying the truth that this is all a beautiful God experience, So
Yep.
anyway, yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Hmm.
Sandra, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Izzy. That made me want to press the heart button. I get that excitement when I hear that excitement you're talking about. It's like my finger keeps going to press the heart button over and over again because I get this little thrill, like you were saying, of excitement when I hear truth being spoken. And it resonates in a way that just has like this exciting feel to it. And as I was listening to Helen, I was remembering a book I read. It was really popular back in the 70s. It was called Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. And I just remember, I don't know if I'm saying this exactly right, but when he woke up, all of a sudden he saw everything as one. And when I had experiences later in my life, I always thought, why don't I see everything as one? That question kept coming in. And then because I thought there must be some state you get into where you see all of this with your eyes. And I think Helen explained this really well about the eyes being like a camera lens. So I guess it was years ago that I kind of dropped that expectation that I was going to actually see everything as one. And I've never had that experience. But I have had the experience through reading, through participation with teachers, of knowing. And then she explained that the knowing is the experience, knowing that I'm hearing truth, knowing that I'm reading the truth, and knowing deeply that just this is true. And that gives a shift in perception that doesn't happen through my eyes. It gives a shift in perception. And that perception is the seeing differently, I guess, for me. And that shift isn't only about others, it's about who, like Izzy just said, who is this thing here? And so I just really liked hearing that. And it reinforced that I don't have to magically all of a sudden look around and see everything as one, because that has never happened. And it's no longer an expectation. It's just knowing that when I hear the truth, it resonates. I get a glow. I get a feeling of, I don't even want to say oneness. It's just beauty and love. And I start feeling love for everybody. And people that I wouldn't have felt love for. So that's all I have. Thanks.
I'm just taking a moment to say good morning, William. I know it's a lot earlier for you, and I got to see your view. Is today the wedding or tomorrow?
Uh, yeah, tomorrow night at 5, there'll be probably 200 people there. Last night was the rehearsal dinner, probably 80 or so. So interesting. So many people, some I haven't seen in 30, 40 years. A lot of the family of my ex-wife. All these beautiful, vibrant people. And so many of them have important others. My goodness, the love, the joy, the movement, the dancing, they're just so enthusiastic and so energetic, so loving. And of course, being the oldest there, I see that I'm treated at times in a certain kind of as a separate, father figure, whatever, grandfather figure, whatever. Now, what I find so interesting, because again, like that word knowing, that the feeling, and some people, it's first just, like almost a physical back and forth acknowledgement that we're physically, materially present. And then with certain people, it's like we go beyond that, beyond that, beyond that. And it's like some of these people, they of course look so differently than 30, 40 years ago. And so who is this person? There's something familiar, but really it's a different. So again, it's traveling with in the moment, and then the chatter of who are you today? What are you doing today? Okay, we connect. We connect. That's fun too. Some have these people are so magnificent. They're just so deep. So what I see too is that with some people, I find there's an impatience in myself that I, after initially getting the location and up to date physicalness part of them, but then the chatter, I hear the chatter, chatter, chatter. I'm so aware of the difference between being present and listening to chatter. And it just seems like that comes clear. And like, it's almost like knocking on the door. Are you willing to go and be present with me? And please don't answer my question, because that's just more chatter, chatter, chatter. And I'm really not interested in it, but I kind of do the friendly thing. But like one person it's like I could not get him to stop chattering. Or my niece, who's just so, it just, but I find that I just get impatient. And I've had enough chatter. It's kind of like if you're eating cereal, you have a bowl, that's all you need. Now, let's move on to something else. So, and then I listened to Helen Hamilton at 2:30 this morning because I couldn't sleep. Mosquito bites. And the silence, the silence, the silence. Or well, what is this moment? What is this moment? Wait a minute. Be in this moment. What is this moment? What is it? And so I like when there's no answer. I like it. Just do me a favor. And I noticed that my sweet wife, when she was in touch with her judging last night, and I could feel it with her and myself, because after a while, a couple hours of this, I'm just worn out. My cup's full, and I don't have much to say, and I'm just kind of a. And then the other part of this, and I'll try to finish this. I have such a hard. I mean, it's just like a cacophony, so much noise, so many words. But I just kind of smile and I'm just there because I don't have to really understand what they're saying, but I do have a feeling, and I just love it, and I love them. It's like we're massaging each other's heart, and I don't know what they're saying. It's just a lot of words, but I sure smile and we connect. So, okay, this is an interesting experience for me because, and I love that there's no because.
What you
But
remind, yeah, but what you were reminding me of, this 6-minute clip was focusing on physical location.
yeah,
The question was related to, I'm looking through these eyes, but I'm one, so why can't I know what's going on in Australia? What you reminded me of, William, while you were sharing was it's the same teaching. I'm looking through these eyes in 2025. Why am I not also in 1997? Since linear time is also not what we think it is. So this idea of change over time, change over location is all part of this. Right now, this camera is in 2025 in Grand Island. And so consciousness is looking through these eyes, but that same consciousness is also in 1997, and it's also on the other side of the world. And I can have a knowing, even though I don't have a sensory perception.
and that's brought home by these people that what's inside me is a feeling in a memory thought of years and years ago, but the memory thought, the feeling thought, they're loving me, loving them. And like my son, when we kind of share the feelings about his brother that he lost and my son that I lost, and just the past, all these memory thoughts back and forth of all these people that all of these 40 years or 50 years or 60 years back and forth, it's like a kaleidoscope of the present. And it again, I love what Helen said, all these little cameras. I love that way of looking at it. I'm all over the place. It's like presence is everything. And then there's the chatter, and that little chatter, that little speck here. Okay.
Thank you. And thank you for being here and sharing this with us. It's really pretty cool. I feel like I'm in St. Augustine, Florida, surrounded by 200 family members, some of whom I haven't seen in 30 years.
And that's kind of what I'm looking at. Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
All right. Shall we attempt to read? All right. Diane has agreed to be our reader. Let me call that up. Oops, not that.
And what page are we on today?
Well, I'm going to ask someone like Rana to tell you because all I have in front of me is the Kindle. And one of the things we've learned is that the Kindle is not the same as.
Well, I think we're on example 2, a family member.
Yep.
because we finished talking about the table.
And what page?
It's 21 in my book at the top.
Great, thank you.
And please remember, any one of us at any time can stop the reading. And please don't wait for someone to acknowledge a hand raise because I won't see it. All right, Diane, it's all yours.
And okay, thank you very much. I love to read. And I just want to say thank you, William, for that line. I like when there's no answer, because that really resonated. And I got the thrill, like Sandra was talking about, of the truth of that, and then the expectations just drop, and it's just allowing whatever. I just love that. So thank you. Okay. So we're in example 2, family member. For the second example, we will look at an object that appears to be external to ourselves and has great emotional value and meaning to us. You can substitute brother with sister, mother or father if you prefer. Most people, again, would agree that your brother is a real thing and that he has a life of his own separate from yours. Some people would agree that we are all one, and so their brother must be the same as them. Few people would want to question if their brother and themselves were even real. You are one of those people. How do I know that? I know it because you are reading this book. What is a brother anyway? What I could call brother is really a human body that my mother gave birth to, just like she did me. But brother cannot really just be a human body. It must be something else. Where does my brother exist? Is he out there as a man I interact with and share parents with? Or is he in here as a thought, an idea, and a familiar set of memories involving one particular person? Is my brother both of these or neither? First, we will look at the out there part, in which my brother seems to be someone I see and can hug or even argue with. But that human body is not really a body. It is a bunch of organs, blood, tissues, and bone. When we look even closer, those tissues and organs become cells, and if we look even closer, we find molecules and DNA. If we look even closer, what we have called my brother is really a product of all the food my mother ate when she was pregnant and all the food my brother ate since birth. We could even say that what I have called my brother is simply food. Brother could also be seen as the product of a sperm and an ovum from my parents, and my parents are really just a product of 2 more sperms and ova, and so on it goes. The sperm and the egg, as well as anything else, can be seen under a microscope to be simply vibration, and if we look closer, can be seen to be simply the formlessness. Now, the point of all this is not to depress you, but to help you come to see what you have valued as a separate, real, and dependable thing is not really so. As human beings, we like to find other humans that make us feel safer, such as family members, friends, and romantic partners. We keep telling ourselves they are outside and different from us, but it is never so. You are the formlessness, and you do not end. What you consider to be external to you really is not. There is nothing external or separate from you.
All right, I feel to stop with this idea. Hold on, I'm not the only one. This is this idea that my believing my children must be real and separate from me is what keeps me safe. I've had these moments in inquiry of looking at this sense that the only place my children exist, especially when they're not right in front of me, is as a story in my mind with ideas and beliefs. And I've had the experience of fear arising at the thought that that's not so. That feels like she was just pointing it out. It also seems, and I almost want Izzy to read it again, or if she was reading or talk about it, when Izzy was talking about this grabbing hold of ideas and or thoughts and creating identity around it as a way of needing to find a place to be in the world. Now I can't remember exactly. It was something like that. That feels like it's the same thing. Like there's an aspect here that has to identify itself with a set of thoughts, a set of relationships. Otherwise, there's nothing to ground into. Is that like all of this is being spoken before I even see it being spoken? It feels fresh or new or something. So, Izzy, did you just turn your video off and unmute so you could respond?
Yes, yeah. What the speaker was saying was that we can't we have a hard time dealing with the thought that all these thoughts that are coming in aren't having some sort of completion. So we make up this false self in order to have someone to respond to all those thoughts. And that's where the false self comes from. We just can't deal with an incompletion. Let's see.
I can see how that can extend to a false self needing others to have relationship with. Otherwise, who are you without somebody to connect with?
Right, exactly. It's a when from my notes, when the mind talks, it creates an illusion that it is speaking to the separate me, but there is no entity. It is like it is talking to itself in circles in order to sustain the illusion of a conversational partner. That's the direct words from this teaching.
Thank you. What's the name of the teacher?
It's actually it's a new video channel on YouTube. It's called Snake Speak, which I am assuming refers to the snake and the rope thing.
Got
And it's an amazing channel. It's just lovely. It it's got beautiful artwork, and the artwork moves, and the speaker is speaking in a lovely tone, and he's got some really wonderful new thoughts. So I highly recommend that channel to anybody.
cool. Is Livy. I got him going from Izzy to Livy and say that 10 times fast.
Livy Izzy, Livy Izzy, Livy Izzy. Wow, this is so timely for me and right on, and especially Cindy, I'm glad you shared first, because I've really been experiencing the separateness, especially as it relates to my niece, and the old story of who Auntie Olivia is in relationship with her, and especially now that neither of her parents are reaching out in any way, feeling even more responsibility or thinking that there's even more responsibility as a separate self to be there for her in whatever capacity I'm able to do that. And so that's just really been resonant. It just sort of hit me really yesterday at how I am, it's and I'm very grateful. It's like we've been talking about welcoming this happening, because it's allowing an opportunity to look at it with a different lens as to what's really happening, instead of buying into the story and maybe the fear associated with that and the expectation of what the story is telling me. And so I'm just really grateful for this timely reading and for y'all that I have the reminders of how to be as oneness instead of as the separate self, and be able to look at her through a new lens, and not only look at her and who's doing the looking, and to be able to do that, have a mirror at me, or the me that I perceive. So it's a wonderful opportunity that I'm having to look with new eyes and a new perception, which leads to projection, as Sandra put into the chat. And so and to be able to use the wonderful prayer, please heal these fear-based thoughts related to blah, 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 and because there is a lot of fear, and there's sadness, and there's disappointment, just all these different emotions, and allowing them just to be, to be there without attaching a story to it. And so it's a very opportune time, I feel like right now. And so that I'm grateful for. And it's just, I'm just real grateful for this reading in particular, and the perspectives that I have from Cindy and from others in this similar situation of beings that have a title as a niece or daughter, or we call each other Freese and Frant because we're friends, and niece and friend and aunt. So it's just a real interesting opportunity right now, and I'm just grateful, because at first, earlier in the week, I felt like, oh, I've had a setback, and it's like, no, it's not a setback. It's an opportunity to get even deeper into the teachings, get even deeper into the listening, what other people's experiences are with this. So I'm just really, really grateful to have this platform and this book, which when this started, I was like, yep, exactly. And I just love Helen Hamilton. Dear Gussie, I just love her dearly. I'm so grateful for her experience and that she shares. So thanks.
Thank you. Should we let Marana speak? Not that we have a choice, but do we officially say, so happy you raised your hand, Marana?
I was waiting for someone to be happy that I raised my hand.
I am so happy you raised your hand.
Grateful to be here. So what's occurring here is that what we're talking about takes a willingness to do some deconstruction, and that kind of comes with this willingness to inquire about, is this true? Is it real? Because as she's first describing the brother, it's very obvious here now that unless he's standing right in front of me, he is just an idea, unless it's right in front of me. So then we must move to, okay, he's right in front of me, right? And there's where the deconstruction comes in, and the willingness to drop the perception of the body's eyes, which is just a localized point of view through a single individual camera. And then I have to remember that the body's eyes aren't really seeing, they're perceiving a bunch of vibration. And I'm that too. I can turn that right around and be like, I'm that too. And so that deconstruction, although it feels like an intellectual exercise a bit, is super helpful for the remembering that what the individual body eyes are seeing is not real, capital R, you know. And when I first came around here, that felt like that was a lot of work. Like, who has time to look at all that when you're having a conversation with someone? However, the more I sink into this, the remembering is easily accessible, more accessible. And when there's a disturbance or a ripple, or there's the sense that something should be different, that deconstruction is accessible, you know, with that willingness to pause. Thanks.
Thank you.
Can I jump in?
Sandra. Oh, yes.
Wow, this conversation is so amazing. I love it. I was thinking about how I'm relating to other people. You know, like how you can make up a whole story in your mind, like take an event and then you just go and you're just creating this story. And it could be catastrophic, it could be, and you're feeling all the emotions that go with it. That's kind of what life is. We're making it up. It's like, and it's almost like I need the story sometimes. I need the story because I came here to feel all the emotions. And the only way I can really feel all the emotions and experience all of it is I need the story. And then sometimes I'm realizing it's a story, and sometimes I totally forget that it's a story because I have to forget, or else I really can't. I'm kind of distant from it if I don't. So I have to really be in it. And so that's what I meant by projections. Like all of it's about me, really about not me, but the big I having these experiences of itself. And I don't know why, I just thought that was really cool. Because then when I quote deconstruct it, I see it for what it is, and I kind of can detach from it and just view it and go, wow, what a great experience. Even if it was something I initially thought I didn't like. And the not liking it is all part of the experience. It's all part of the stories. And isn't it incredible, the number of stories, just like William was saying, being in there with 200 people and all those different people and their aliveness and their, you know, their loves, their hates, their all of it is just the greatest story ever told. It's like, but the knowing, like when Siddhartha woke up, you know, he's the Buddha, and saw that, that's like the big change in perception. But that doesn't mean that sometimes I don't want to climb right back into that story and experience it. I don't know if that's making any sense at all, but that's what came to me. And I just love hearing from each of you so much. It's like, I'm saying, can't even tell you how much. There aren't words for it. And I'm just going to keep pushing that button. Don't get tired of my hearts, okay?
You're the only one that's ever said a word against your hearts. Like you are, no one in our meetings has ever said, ah, that's Sandra. She hits that heart button so many fucking times. I wish she would just stop.
Okay. I am going to call him William. Hey, William.
Well, again, I'm just sitting here and noticing. I love this phrase, know you, know me. And I love that book. I love the feeling I have when I think about it, the consciousness, the journey of this guy that wrote it, and how he relates consciousness is all there is. And when that woke him up, hearing that, and how he lived his life. So I see that the chatter is always there, but it's chatter, not it's just it is chatter. And I see, wait a minute, I've got a lot of chatter. I just do have a lot of chatter. But you know what? Know me, know you. The present, the silence. More and more it seems like that silence. I like it even better than awareness, because awareness has so much attachment to the object of awareness. Again, whereas silence is everywhere. That's when I listen to Helen. Silence is that nothing is everything. So again, silence, chatter, silence, chatter. It's all part of the same somehow. And I'm just embracing it. I can get so caught up in the chatter and the FOMO. Oh man, I missed out. But more and more, I've always steeped in silence. So there's no way I miss out except in my chatter. So I just, the more fluid, the more I accepting, the more, in a sense, falling in love with not really, it's just chatter. But it just always seems to be like the weather. It just keeps coming. But boy, every now and then that sunshine is so powerful. The silence, the beauty of that. And and it's a feeling. And it's like there are no eyes to see it. And that's what a relief. What a relief. It's just something inside. It reminds me of an octopus. They got so many little tentacles. Well, that's the way I was here in Hamilton. These visual cameras everywhere. So it's all. So anyway, so even as I'm jabbering, and more when I tell people, I don't believe anything I say. I really don't. And it's given me such freedom. And then when I hear chatter, sometimes they, well, do you believe? That's an interesting thought. Do you believe it? And then they justify it with more chatter. And that's when I sort of back away and go into my silence. I just let them be. Anyway, chatter, silence. I got bookends, and I'm in the bookends. And just as I see you all smiling faces, and then I see Indigo on her machine, I think, wow, that go girl, go girl. that, yeah.
So, shall we keep reading or something? Yeah. Shall we try to get through example number 2? All right, you ready, Diane? I'm gonna screen share.
Mine knew where we ended.
What about the in here part of your brother?
Ah. What about the in here part of your part of your brother? Inside my mind, my brother can exist in a way based on all the thoughts I have about him and the time we have spent together and how I think and feel about him. He exists as a set of thoughts and emotions and memories I think I have had based on the idea he is separate from me and I have a relationship with him. Can that relationship exist in reality if there is only me? All of the meaning, value, and worth I put on my brother is really derived from the way the thoughts and memories in my head of him make me feel.
All right, that's where I want us to stop. I have a story. All right, here's the story. Among other things, you know, I am a host and I hold space at the Global Diet community, and there's thousands of people, hundreds of people flow through the community. Almost never do we ask anyone to leave. But recently, my partner Yvonne and I had a circumstance where we had to ask a young gentleman, his name is Matthias, to leave the community. And that's not the story, other than the fact that it was an event. Tuesday, I got a message 15 minutes before diet was about to start from Yvonne. Some of you know Yvonne, not everybody. And her son had an accident. He's fine, in case anybody knows about his son. And she had to take him to the hospital. And would I host her diet? That was like starting in 10 minutes. And as the universe would have it, I was able to go into the diet space. And I stepped in. I was not in, like, usually I prep. Usually when I host, it's at 8 a.m. Sometimes it's 10 a.m., but I'm in that space. This time I came from doing something completely different. I step in and I look, there's about 20 people in the room, and two of them are Matthias. Right? Two of them have their name is Matthias, and that's not how you pronounce it in German, but it's how I pronounce it. The one I knew, he speaks German and English, and he turned his video on, and I knew who he was, and that's not him. The other Matthias, even though he said he had a little E for English instead of German, looked exactly like the gentleman that we had just asked not to come. And my whole insides went into an alarm, like crazy. And what am I going to do? And where am I going to go? And I can't, like, and yet I've been doing this a long time, and I set it up. I set everything up so that I could be paired with this gentleman. And my whole system knew that as soon as he started to speak, I was going to remind him he wasn't allowed to be in our, he wasn't going to be in our space anymore. I was all geared up for that, right? We get into the room, my system's still telling me I know who he is. And I said to him, "Do I know you?" And he said, "I don't think we've ever met." And I realized I realized consciously, as soon as he opens his mouth, he wasn't the Matthias who we had asked to leave. But my system was still responding as if he was. You getting what I'm like? And so I ended up I wasn't planning on doing a diet. I ended up stepping into this diet experience and processing the fact that my whole system lied to me. And there was a part of me that wanted to tell him, this young man who is in his own process, very adept, even though we had never met, of the system and the self-inquiry. Part of me wanted to tell him what was going on, because this is so friggin' cool. And I thought but I didn't, because it had nothing to do with him. I just sat in the space of communicating how intensely my system was lying to me about the world. And after a couple of rounds, there was this realization that I was in a diet experience with a being I had never met before, and I was able to taste his energy for the first time. But not until this whole thing that was in my space dropped. It was actually extraordinary. But I walked away still with the remnants of this system insisting he was somebody else. And I recognize, even as I'm saying this, that I could tell you that every time I'm connected with my children, I'm having that same experience. Every time I interact with this beautiful 26-year-old and 28-year-old, this system is still responding as if I'm hanging out with a 10-year-old and an 11-year-old. or a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old, or a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. I'm recognizing how my history and what I believe they were and what we went through together is coloring my ability to be fully present with who they are today. And I don't like it.
It reminds me of the after effects of a tsunami.
Say more.
The tsunami, the thoughts, it's overwhelming. And then as my system allows the tsunami to subside, there's the after effects still. And depending on the size of the tsunami, wow, it may take a while. But
Diego, you get, go ahead.
and I'm sorry, I just love your sharing that. It is so real and realistic. I think that for my tsunamis that I have continually to deal with. Thank you.
Thank you. And Diego gets our final word this hour. How wonderful. Hey, sweetheart.
Hi, so happy to be here. So happy. And it's been so amazing to me to surrender. And even it was amazing because I just saw that I wasn't. I didn't like it, or I wanted things to be this way, or it needs to be this way, or it needs to be that way. And I'm just like, no, I don't need to understand. I don't need it to be anyway. Whatever is happening, it's perfect. Even if I don't get it, I don't like it, it's perfect. And it's here for me. That everything is here for me. Always. And I can surrender to everything. Always. Yeah, so yeah, it's been amazing for me because I just saw that. And if I hate it, it's okay. I can love the hate because it's here for me. And I love being here, and I love all of you, and this is just the best thing ever. So thank you.
It is the best thing ever. And with that, we get to stop the recording.